What's up, everyone? How you doing? Hey, did everyone learn something today? Yeah! That's the important thing. So, here we go. My talk. Problem: the boss wants to connect something he probably shouldn't. Kind of focus on IoT. Solution: just one way to get the solution is log management, log aggregation. Disclaimer: all thoughts, opinions, presentation of my own. Do not reflect that of my employer, BSides, blah 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 blah. All that fun stuff. About me: name is Jared Seats. I graduated Southern Illinois University Carbondale in 2011. That's where I really got interested in security. They had a computer security and networking degree. Did like a collegiate cyber defense competition, red team, blue team. Blue team was college kids, red team was a bunch of professional pen testers that just destroyed us at every competition. A lot of fun. Interned with the Oklahoma State Information Security Team. Learned a lot about how the real world compared to what I was taught in academia for security, and also how state government runs super slow compared to everything else. Then I came to Kansas City because of Cerner. I was a system engineer, 4.5 years. A lot of fun. I was basically a sysadmin for Splunk, Enterprise Chef, and Zabbix. Learned a lot about DevOps and how that all works, and I thought it was normal how this was working, but apparently it's not. So it was a lot of fun and pretty sweet. Currently, this year actually, I jumped ship and went to a company called Defense Point Security. They do federal contracts for federal agencies. They focus mainly on like the red teaming stuff, but they're also a Splunk partner. So we help build out Splunk instances in certain federal agencies that need it. Also, I'm a certified Splunk architect. Just means I took this really crazy lab and passed. Today's agenda, it's available. You get a request from some high-ranking official, your boss's boss, your boss's boss's boss. They're going to want to connect some random device to the company network because they saw it online or their friend at the golf course has it. It's super cool and awesome. For this talk, I'll just be talking about the Philips Hue light bulbs. You know, the cool light bulbs that can change colors and you can use your cell phone, turn them off and on, and do it remotely as well. Coolest thing ever, but obviously they're kind of hard to secure, so we'll be talking about maybe one approach on how to get them in wraps. Also, how we should respond to the boss's boss's boss, which the next slide will tell us how most of us want to respond. Sometimes we'll have to say yes eventually, or our replacement will say yes to the boss's boss's boss. And then Q&A if you guys have any questions. But like I said, our first response when someone asks someone like that, like, hey, can I connect this IoT device that you know nothing about, I know nothing about, I just found it on this cool Chinese website and I want to plug into the network. No. Well, you know what? That's all. I mean, that's the talk right there. We could all go home, just enjoy our day because we're not going to do this. I mean, security. We're the no people. We're the no fun police. We make sure that we're a roadblock on everything. Maybe that's not the best thing, but you know what? Legitimately, we got some legitimate threats on why we want to say no. Could have a network compromise, virus, data loss. If you have a PCI or PII, if you get that data gets out because you plug some random thing into your network, who's going to get blamed? You will, not your boss's boss's boss, that's for sure. Also, sales data. If you're, Fortune 500 company and your sales data gets leaked out, you might be in trouble. So, possible answers? Yeah, sure, no problem. You don't really care anyway because you're leaving in 2 weeks. So let's take that route and yeah, we can plug that device in, no problem. Also, sure, that's against company policy. Nice, safe way. You know what? Company policy backs you up. You have everything under control. And when that promotion rolls around and you don't get a dime, just keep that in mind. The best way, and probably the way we should do a lot of this stuff, is I would be happy to work with you to find a way to make that happen and keep us secure in the process. You hear that, boss? You're helping us be secure. It's great. We get to connect your little device to the network and we'll still be secure. It's a win-win. How are we going to do that? Basically, we'll do log management, log aggregation. So, first thing I want to do is, do you have a log aggregator? Should you look at one? For some of the examples, I use Splunk because I know the most about Splunk. You can use anything else, Elk, Logstash, Graylog. Also syslog, you could just rep logs if you really feel adventurous. At a minimum, you should probably have syslog anyway, because That's what it's there for. It's to centralize all your logging, being able to keep track of all your stuff. It's just a good policy in general. Things to consider. Balance your risk costs. Some people think Splunk is really expensive. Some people think it's not expensive. Do you have people to manage your log aggregation system? Do you have like 10 interns that aren't doing anything? And you know what? They can build up an Elk stack and get all the dashboards you want and the fancy shebangs, or maybe you just have one overworked sysadmin and you're just going to add another thing to his list of things to do. What does your customer leadership actually want? Do they want fancy dashboards to see what their light bulbs are doing? Maybe they want to see the color used the most of their fancy light bulbs that they're putting in place, and they want a fancy dashboard that shows that. What solutions do that? If you just do syslog, you might have to be tying some other stuff into it to find out. Also considering what other devices they will connect to. Basically, like when they reach out to the magical cloud, what are they connecting to? Are they connecting to like just Amazon Web Services, Philips Hue's special servers? Or are they connecting out to the Russian mafia that's, you know, collecting data from your fancy light bulbs? Figuring out what other resources you might need to help you this setup. So the thing you need to remember is like, these things have to talk out. So basically there's networking. Are you a networking expert? Do you have networking experts? Do you have a separate firewall team that manages the firewalls so they do their logging? Getting the correct experts involved to help you sort out all the logs, the information. So if you have some firewall logs, that's great, but now maybe you have Snort Logs. Well, does the firewall guy know about Snort Logs, or does the networking guy know about Snort Logs? So getting the correct people to help you out is another good thing to keep in mind. Also, features, obviously, like I said, you could do syslog and just have a syslog server in grep, or, like I said, do you want fancy dashboards, all that stuff. Also, like, whenever you're putting things together, like, how can you control this device? Like, can you block certain features? What ports do these listen to? Is a whitelist possible? All that fun stuff. Also, I found out my light bulbs, while I plugged them in, on my phone and my app, it's like, hey, there's a new firmware version out. Do you want to update? And I'm like, sure, that sounds great. So I updated my light bulb firmware. It was great and exciting. Really? Yes. Because sometimes you'll get these Chinese knockoff devices. They will never see a firmware update ever. So you got to keep that in mind on what you're plugging in, and you know, keep all that in check. This is for those of you that have Google Fiber. This is just a Google router setup, and this is just to show you that as soon as I plugged it in, hey, look at that, DHCP shows up as a Philips Hue's. Oh, hey, here's the IP address. Hey, here's the MAC address. It's great. Some other servers and stuff I have connected to the network, and then down here you can see my phone, which is connected to the Wi-Fi. Here's a basic diagram I have set up of everything that I was working on for this lab. Also, I had to burn down my lab in the middle of me trying to work on this, so I had to rebuild it, and this is the end result. Failed hard drives are no fun. You will lose your VMs. So basically, Samsung phone had the IP address 101, Wi-Fi router connects to bulbs. Also, here's a physical PF Sense box I had set up. This is where I had all my logging take place. Philips Hue's bridge was plugged into one of the ports dedicated on the PF Sense box, and then another one went just to a dumb switch, which plugged into the router. And then also, I had an ESX server set up, and I had two VMs set up, a Splunk server and a syslog server. My original intent, which is also best practices for logging for Splunk for syslogs, is taking the pfSense syslogs and sending to a standard syslog server, storing them locally, having log rotation program set in place so it doesn't fill up drives, stuff like that. That's the best recommended path. And then taking the Splunk agent, which is also called a Splunk forwarder, and then sending those logs to Splunk. That will be on port 9997 by default. Syslog port is 514 by default. The big thing to keep in mind, most syslog is UDP, so I don't really care if you actually get the logs, I just want to keep sending it. So whenever you do upgrades and stuff to your Splunk server, if it goes down and you're sending logs via UDP directly to the server, you will drop those logs because it doesn't care that it made it there. That's why whenever you use a syslog server, they get stored, they're on the hard drive. The Splunk agent itself will be like, hey, I want to send this to the Splunk server. Oh, you're down, I'm going to wait so long, I'm going to try again. and then it'll queue up all the data on the servers, and then once the server comes back up, then it'll be like, okay, and then send all the new data that it got. Perfect. You can also have crazy setups with syslog server. For this lab, single instance is fine. So what data should we be monitoring? And this will change based on each IoT device you have, or what you're actually wanting to put in. But logging the traffic that you know is from that IoT device, so maybe isolating it out and finding out what exactly it's doing. Mention this for what's it doing reaching out to the cloud. Is it trying to connect to other devices in your network? It's like SSH open, all that fun stuff. Also, basically like using your networking resources. Can you set up VLANs, firewall rules, all that stuff? Again, what are you expecting this IoT device to do? Is it an Alexa device? It needs to connect to Amazon services. Are you going to use that Alexa device to connect to your light bulb so you can control your light bulbs via voice? Because that sounds really cool, and I think that sounds pretty awesome. But I didn't get this set up yet for this lab because so also, should you be monitoring secondary devices? This cell phone has an app to control my light bulbs. Does this device now need to be in your scope of you need to monitor this device? Or does your executive just want to control light bulbs in his own office and you can use like a standard tablet that's not traveling with him? Because now you have another device you either have to control, monitor, look at, and you might already be doing this, but it's something else to consider. Also, what other outside accounts are connected? So for my light bulbs, so locally I could use it without having to sign up for an account, but if I wanted to use it remotely, I had to sign up for a MyHue account. And then once I sign up for the account, it's like, okay, now when you walk away from your house, your lights will flip off for you. Or when you get to a certain location, hey, we'll flip it on. Of course, now you've got GeoIP location on your phone. But you know what? Your boss may want all that stuff. He wants to walk into that office and he wants to see the lights flip on as soon as he walks in. It's the coolest thing ever. He didn't have to do anything. But you know what? That's something else to consider. What other devices can access the IoT device and vice versa? Are you separating this off and segmenting its own special network, or are you just, just plug in the corporate network? Who cares if you know what other servers are there and stuff like that? And also, is this something, I already talked about this, something only the executive needs, or will everyone else need this? So like if it's in a conference room, does anyone who has the ability to book the conference room be able to speak to the light bulbs and turn them on with their voice? Or is this something only the executive gets access to? So that's something else to keep in mind. Basic stuff. Rules to comply. I mentioned some of this for IP table rules for SIM traffic. Does your device have, telnet open, SSH, all that fun stuff? Is it trying to reach out to the internet on those ports as well? Also, like I said, got the MAC address on it. I'll talk a little bit later about the app having part of the MAC address as well, but the router picked it up just fine. So you could filter our MAC address. So if you have some random MAC address running around in your IoT network, hey, well, how did this get there? Also, if Wi-Fi is needed. So for the light bulbs to work, I needed to have Wi-Fi already set up and had to connect via Wi-Fi and hit the bulbs. I didn't get a second AP set up to see if I could do multi-Wi-Fi access points, stuff like that, but I'm sure that's possible as well. Also, access control. Whenever you're setting these up, you got, as I said before, who can gain access to that? But the big thing is if you're logging the specific information on these IoT devices, who should actually look into these logs or be able to look into these logs? Do you only want security to be able to see these logs that the IoT device is connecting out? Or maybe your developer should actually have access to that as well, because they're thinking about developing for this, and that's why the executive wants to have it. Things like that to keep in mind. Also, a lot of the Philips Hue stuff, it uses basically API calls to talk to the light bulbs over HTTP. Yes, HTTP, the great HTTP port 80. All right. Big thing to keep in mind though, IoT devices here to stay. You need to be prepared. Bring them into the network, just like any other BYOD device, and manage them while they're connected. Because, it's only a matter of time before people or other IoT devices in. But you got to make sure you're keeping control of these IoT devices, because if you don't, they're just going to start wandering around your network, and eventually they're just going to start poking stuff that they really, really shouldn't. So the other thing that a lot of security people like is policies. What policies do you have in place? Do you have a BYOD policy where people can bring their own device and use on the corporate network? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Cell phones, can they bring their own cell phones? Should that be the same policy? Do you have to build a specific IoT policy where, like, if this item falls under this list, is considered an IoT device, and it needs to be vetted by security, it needs to be approved by 2 or 3 managers, blah 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 blah. Your executive is going to get all that information anyway, so maybe you have a policy in place to keep it in check. As I was mentioning, this may grow into a bigger issue. It's only a matter of time before, the coolest thing, walk into the office, all of a sudden your phone connects to the internet, basically tells your coffee maker that you just walked into the office building. Now your coffee maker is brewing up your favorite cup of coffee as soon as you walk into your cubicle. There it is. Your cup of coffee is done, ready, and you or your boss is extremely happy. Here's an example of the app. There's not much on here except I wanted to point out that the ID was actually the last 6 digits of the MAC address, which I found was interesting. Also, you can't see it, but it also gives a model number and an actual version number on the Philips, the hub itself. And then on the light bulbs, there's also a version number. And this changed whenever you do the firmware upgrade. This is basically the firmware version on the light bulb. I never used the second bulb because I wanted to get all my logging in place correct and tracking so I could figure out what it would do. Plug the second light bulb in and then find out what it does the first time it gets plugged into a network. But like I said, I just didn't get a good chance to get this set up. I'm hoping to get this set up probably next month, the way I'm going. And then here, basically, here you control each light bulb individually. All you do is push the button, flips it on, flips it off. You can control brightness and all that fun stuff too. And it's basically all from the device in your hand, which is your cell phone. Here's just a Splunk example. I just did a basic search from the pfSense firewall as the host, and then searching for 101, which is my cell phone. So basically it can see that, or is the 101, it was actually the hub. No, 101 was my cell phone, 110 was the hub. Sorry about that. But here basically you can see standard logs. It's just highlighting it that finds the IP. Here's the host name. This is basically where the logs are coming from. Over here in the interesting fields, I'll talk about a little bit later in the next couple of slides, is just the way Splunk is set up in some other log aggregator systems, is they will actually pull out specific fields. So like the source IP and source IP, what port numbers, all that cool stuff. It's just off to the side. You click a button, oh, I can see all the port 80 traffic. You click it, all of a sudden it'll scope down to anything that called port 80 on a certain time frame. Pretty neat stuff. Here I brought in some Snort Logs that I got from pfSense. I don't know anything about Snort, and I was trying to learn during this as well, but a quick Google search tells me that this is all useless and I should just not have Snort Log in at all, but I thought it was interesting. It's basically showing the cell phone reaching out to the hub on port 80, and here's some more, just like I said, random HTTP header errors for it. So here's another. This is actually coming from the firewall portion of pfSense. So timestamp, host name, filter log, and then CSV data. Cool thing about Splunk is actually break up your CSV data into, like what I said earlier. So that way you can search for just firewall rules that are passed to this IP, firewalls that are blocked, and then it'll also tell you what the rule number is, what port, all that fun stuff. So that way you can dig down and see exactly what's getting blocked and what's passing. So if you see a rule that's passing, maybe you have the funny any rule that you really shouldn't have, sending stuff to your IoT device because the Russian mafia has hold of it. Now you don't. Quick takeaway: just because the IoT devices are terrible and they will be a risk to your network, they should be treated like any BYOD device. Needs good policies and procedures around them so you can use them in your network. So your boss is happy, you can actually get that promotion, or you just don't get fired straight off the bat for saying no like you normally do. Being able to get the information from the logs from devices that you can control, so your switches, your firewalls, your routers, all the stuff that you can get stuff out of, you should use that to correlate and be able to control this IoT device. IoT device you can't log into, can't SSH, or any of that stuff, but you can control the circle around it and make sure that it doesn't just go off random directions. Any questions? You.
So that was super helpful from a Linux-centered perspective. If you happen to be in a domain that is more Windows, do you have any recommendations as far as tools or configs or approaches? And if not, would you mind if I recommend?
For Windows specifically, so technically you could set up the same kind of system. I think there's a syslog instance called Kiwi that some people use. He's shaking his head yes, but it doesn't look like it's a good yes, so maybe don't use Kiwi. But I mean, it's another thing. Even if you got Windows Server, it's the same kind of situation. Like Splunk installs on Windows as well, so you could use the same concept, taking logs from devices, installing it on a Kiwi server as your central repo for your logs, and then just using the special Splunk, the forwarder agent, sending it to the Splunk server. You're still getting the same logs and all that stuff. The big thing to keep in mind is like firewall rules in between the Windows servers. I troubleshooted one day to where I couldn't figure out why logs weren't getting to my Splunk server. They turned on the firewall and was blocking the ports that needed to be open. So it's stuff like that that you gotta keep in mind as well. So, but same kind of rounded concept even for Windows servers, just getting logs into one place and then sending them to another server. So, any other questions? Thank you. Here's all of our awesome sponsors. I don't know, does anyone know what this logo is? Who is it?
Johnny Jumbo.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Is it really?
I wonder.
Games animation.
I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, oh, this is the coolest logo ever. Where did it come from?
Super Troopers?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that a sponsored logo?
Also, like I said, feedback. Let me know how I did. I want to keep doing this. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully, I'll get better at it. Any helpful hints or criticisms, I will definitely appreciate. Same for the conference. BSides hasn't been around for a few years, so I'm sure they're learning as well, and we want to make this a better conference for, I'm sure, next year. And anything else? Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Gared.
Who's ready for some shenanigans? Shenanigans. All right.